Hi. Okay, this is our final meeting. I have nothing to say aside from Catherine is here to talk about conference and her experience, and I have questions for you.
Okay.
So do you want to tell them kind of how conference runs a little bit and like the flow of it a little bit? And then what topics?
As best as I could.
Yeah. And then what topics you saw?
Sure.
I'm gonna eat this.
So I'm gonna combine my experience from last year's and this year's, which last year's was Salt Lake, Utah, and this year's New Orleans, because the level of like activity I did this year was definitely less than I did last year. Last year, the flow of it, the setup of it is exactly the same. So they have, key topics that people present about. And there's like short courses, which they teach you things. They have like conversation with students, I think. I don't remember anymore what they're called. But so each segment's like formatted differently. They have continuing education stuff. There's a variety of things, and you get like a book that lists all the different talks that's going on that day, and you can pick and choose. And my best suggestion is to look through that book and like strategize, like, okay, this is what I want to go to. And if this one sucks, I have an alternative, because you don't want to waste like the whole time somewhere that you don't like. Last year, I bought the pass, so I tried to go to as many as I could. I woke up at 8 in the morning, and I went through all these cool courses. At the time, I was really into neuro rehab, so I went to all the talks about upper extremity stuff, anything with stroke related or neuro rehab related. This year, because I knew the city was going to be New Orleans, I decided not to buy the pass, and instead is like I paid attention when the volunteer sign up was, and I looked through what the potential talks are, and I'm like, okay, that way I can go in for free to see the ones I do want to see, because I knew most of the time I probably wouldn't be going.
So you didn't buy the pass at all?
I didn't buy the pass.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so there's multiple ways you could buy a day pass. Like say you only want to go in one day. I would suggest if the city's not that cool to explore, buy the whole weekend.
Next year's Boston, the year after San Diego.
Boston and then San Diego.
Boston and San Diego, both cities are actually really fun. The good thing is you still have the student discount. So if you do decide, just in case you want to go to multiple days, try to buy it as early as possible before the deadline. Or you could do what I did, because I knew that it's New Orleans and I'm not going to really be going the whole weekend. So when the volunteer date opened, it fills out fast. So if you can, try to log in as early as you can and look through the courses that you want to see and sign up as soon as possible. So the day of, so you get there. So I guess I'll talk about the volunteer process. So you get there, they give you this like neon orange shirt that says ask me questions, and people will ask you questions. There's no training. They just give you a sheet of paper of what they think you should do. And everything is pretty much kind of like how life is in this program. You just figure it out as you go along.
Yeah.
So last year's experience, I went to classes, I took notes, and I learned a lot, especially good for like deck planning or DCE planning or whatever it's going to be called in next year. But this year, what else did I do? So yeah, I volunteered on Thursday. So I knew what I wanted to focus on was more neurotechnology based, because that's what my plan for DCE was supposed to be. So when I looked at the schedule of what to sign up for, I looked at where it was available. It filled out pretty quickly, so I just got stuck with the tech lab, which is this big hall where all the tech related talks is gonna like take place. It is a little unorganized, I will say that, because I don't know, that's just how it is. What else can I say? So I did a lot of when I was volunteering, I did a lot of coordinating. So I didn't know who the point person was. I had the orange shirt, so I took the initiative and I just started asking questions. I started to direct people in that entire lab area, like poster boards, people weren't set up. They didn't know where to set things up. So I took the initiative. I looked at the staffing people, asked them questions. They had no idea. I pretty much took it upon myself and just created a system where it didn't exist. So instead of just counting heads, I ended up telling people what to do, where to go, and eventually the coordinator showed up like 2 hours later. And I don't know if it's just because it's New Orleans and maybe their style is a little bit more like laid back. I don't know how Boston or San Diego is going to be, but just know if you're going to volunteer, don't expect a lot of direction. Just be prepared to just jump in.
Kind of fun.
Yeah, and it's part of the fun, and you get to meet a lot of people and a lot of therapists. It's great networking. I met a therapist that was so lost and had the orange shirt, and then she started to ask me questions, and I asked her about what she did, and fascinating thing she does is she goes to different theaters and does like adaptation or adapts it so that it helps people who are actors that have disabilities. And like, you obviously all don't know me, but I love acting and stuff. So combining both of those things, if you can't tell by this video, I loved it.
I love to be on stage.
This is my medium. Okay, I'm done talking. Any questions?
I have questions.
Okay.
So when you pay for the full weekend, when you went to Salt Lake City, are you able to go to any of the talks, or you still have to pay for it?
No, it's
Okay.
free. So that's the good thing about buying the pass for the full weekend is like you don't have to be like, you know, like stressed about paying for each talks. There's some extra thing you have to pay for. Like our first year, we wanted to go to the networking event. So like there's a wine tasting. We paid extra for that. Again, literally, this is just a great place to network and meet people from different fields. And it's great if you're new, like a first year student or like second year student or third year student, you'll get something out of it with whatever you're needing at that time. So.
And I have another question. Do you know if CEUs are just kind of like anything goes there, or do they try and do like different up and coming, new, innovative stuff, or?
Yeah, I mean, the topics do change each year because it's depending who submits.
Okay.
But like, I don't know how they're going to organize it next year, but the way they organize it is that you get CEU credits, especially for practicing therapists. They get credit. Continuing education units, because as a therapist, you have to make sure you have continuing education units to fulfill that requirement. And so the way it worked is they had a scanner, so they would scan when they went to a talk and they'd get credit that way. Or so at the end of the entire what is this called, conference? Wow. The entire conference, you start to get credit in that way.
Cool.
Yeah. But the way it's set up, so other people that went, they can probably add on to this. It depends on what you want from it. Like if you're a student and you just want to learn about stuff that you don't normally learn about in class, you could look at the titles of the topic and you're like, oh, that sounds interesting. And then you go in there. And usually if it's what you like, you stay. If you don't, then you kind of can sneak out and like move on to another, because there's a lot of great things going on at the same time. That's why I'm always like, look at the book and make a plan before you go. Because if you just show up and be like, I feel like doing this, you're going to miss out on like basically making the most out of it. Anybody else have questions?
Let me think really quick. Stand in front of the camera.
Let me just sit here idly.
So besides looking at tech, what was your favorite topic, maybe even from the year before that you saw?
Well,
Just gauge what kind of topics.
There's a variety of topics. So you could do peds, you could do geriatrics, you could do tech, you could do anything that you can think OT can fit into. There's usually a talk about it. Like a new trend this year was the LGBTQ community and like identifying like how as an OT do we fit into that world. I saw like a couple of talks on that. Discussing sexuality with people with disabilities, like that was one that was pretty popular the year before. For me, there was aquatic therapy, you said?
Which is cool.
Okay.
Because like you don't learn about it in school.
Exactly. So the topics can range depending on what you're interested in, and everybody has different interests. So that's what you're going to gravitate towards. Like last year there was like 4 of us, but we all had different things we were interested in. So we'd walk in together, but we'd pretty much be separate. And then at the end of the day, we'd meet up again for like their main talk. So they have like a welcoming ceremony, which is where they introduce everything, and like the president of AOTA does a speech, which is always great and inspiring. And then the next night they have the Eleanor Slagle Award recipient. She does the speech, or whoever gets picked. It's usually very, very good. I would suggest if like you volunteered, like what I did this year, I volunteered for the rooms that I wanted to listen to. And then I don't know if I should record this, but I snuck in. Which by the way, I earned because I coordinated that dang tech lab. So I'm like, I don't care if I'm sneaking in. I'm a student and it's just one speech and
I'm submitting.
they'll be okay. Please don't. Cancel. I didn't do that. I paid. If they would have let me pay for just the speech, I would have, but there wasn't an option for that. And I volunteered the whole day, all day, every day, and I helped. That's my justification. Yeah.
Cool. I have a question about the aquatics talk that you went to. Was it more?
Can I turn it?
No, it has to stare at you.
Dang it.
Was it geared towards like intervention ideas as an OT?
Like protocols and different things in the water, how like your muscles react differently in joints and water and stuff. So like
Cool.
buoyancy and like other like factors to take into consideration that we don't take into consideration on land. Like, so she specifically worked with a lot of people with hemiparesis, so like with like tight shoulders and stuff, because the water like helps like your shoulder float up like naturally in the water. You know, if you hang in like all day.
Yeah.
So other things like that. And then she said she does probably like 30% aquatic therapy, and then they have a clinic that she does other therapy as well.
Yeah.
I like it.
I went to the talk too. Like, are there anyone looking for aquatic? I don't know. I went to a discussion about it was really like a panel of women who did cancer rehab, and they talked about life after cancer treatment, and how it's like the struggles with patients getting back into their normal routines. A lot of them have to quit their jobs because like the chemo affects your brain, and like there's just lots of, and their activity endurance is lower. There's just like, it was just really cool seeing how the tea could fit into that realm.
Good.
So yeah, pretty much any topic that you think is interesting, most likely they have something related to it. They have
The
everything.
book is like overwhelming.
It is
Because
overwhelming.
You want to go to everything.
Yep.
But you can only go to some.
The book
Sounds
becomes
like
your
a music
Bible, by the
festival.
way. So as soon as you, and actually they post some of the time slots of speeches ahead of time, so you can even, if you're a planner, like that might be the best thing for you too. So you get the most out of your experience, especially if you paid
Yeah.
all week. Like last year when I did pay, I made sure that I didn't miss any of the ones I wanted. And you can see, and like there's some talks that aren't very good too. And there's a lot actually that I was sitting there. I'm like, wow, I've already learned this in my program. Like how exciting.
Like I'm smart.
Yeah,
Thanks.
but yeah, like so then I'd like sneak away and then move on to something else that I was just as interested in. But the way it's set up is it's so far because it's usually a big like expo. So like figuring out where everything is, it'll probably take you like a full day, and then you'll get it by like second day, third day, or however long you stay.
Have you talked about going to the expo?
Yeah. Oh,
It's
yeah.
just,
Actually,
the expo is so cool.
yeah. So
What is the expo?
So the expo is basically a big room that has booths from different companies. Most of them either presented or is sponsoring, or I don't know, they just want to present like their companies. That's a great place to meet like future companies to possibly work for. Different tools and adaptive like toys or feeding, assistive devices they sell there. And then the cool thing is because they want you to go to their booth, they always offer free stuff. So they have like raffles, they have cool music, they have like food, they have just incentives for you to go to their booth and check it out and network again. But if you volunteer for 4 hours, you earn credit to go in for free. So you don't have to pay the ticket to go into Expo. So that's how I was able to go. But you only get to go after you've earned 4 hours, and they only give you a wristband, which helped me sneak in to the Eleanor Slager's speech. But yeah, I keep saying the wrong name.
I don't know. Bye.
Eleanor Clark Slagle. Eleanor Clark Slagle.
Beautiful. You guys have any other questions? Want to know more about conference? Catherine, thank you for talking. And
Thanks
Carol,
for
thank
letting
you
me
for
talk.
talking back there. That's all I have for you if you're watching online.
Have a great summer.
Yeah. Email Emily Final if you're watching online. Bye.